Hey everyone, my name is Gavin, and today we are going to be reviewing the posthumous record from Juice Wrld, who unfortunately passed 2019 of December. And yeah, I guess the best way to describe my feelings of this album is by saying I absolutely 100% fell in love with it. I've listened to many songs on here for, I don't know. I think I listened to a good amount of them on 2020. I was more of a fan of Lucid Dreams, which now I'm not. But I will say I have listened to a lot of these before even considering reviewing the entire album. So I guess I just get that out of the way. Some of these I have on my playlist constantly, and I think that's part of why I love this album so much is because of how re-listenable a lot of these songs are, such as Come and Go, Wishing Well, Fighting Demons, Hate the Other Side, Smile, etc. They're all so listenable and catchy. And that's not saying there's no substance there, because there is. It's just I find some of them very listenable and easy to vibe to. So I guess that's part. But even the thing is, even though I say this, the records and the songs in this album are very heartbreaking, and it's like in a way he predicted what was the inevitable future. And I think that just makes this album a lot more depressing and sadder to listen to. Wishing Well is a perfect example of this, as you can see that he's trying to fight against it. He's trying to fight against the substances that he is taking, even though he knows that it's not going to come out well in the end. And it tackles themes of addiction so well, and some people might say it's beefy. Maybe I could somewhat understand that, but at the same time, it does that to get its point across pretty well. And the thing is, at the same time, some might critique the fact that some of these are really odd to put some of these a bit more feel-good songs than his other songs in the album. But the thing is, Juice Wrld has always been this guy that talks about how he feels in the moment. He said this in, I think, a Genius interview before, when I don't think it was a Genius interview, but it was some sort of, I think it was a Lyrical Lemonade interview, where he explained that he talks about feelings that he has in the moment, regardless of whether they're good or not. And I think in this, it really pays off the best, better than I think I've ever heard it pay off. Come and Go was probably a better example of this, and I'm trying to think of other ones. Man of the Year is definitely one that kind of takes this example. In fact, I think he even says this in it, that he will jot down parts of his life, good or bad, and you can really tell that throughout this album. And another thing is the production is fantastic. I mean, you have songs like Come and Go, Smile, which has this phenomenal atmosphere, by the way. Sorry, voice crack. And there's other ones that I keep trying to think of off the top. Wishing Well is one that has great production, and there's other ones that I can name as well. I think pretty much every single one in this entire album probably has at least decent production. The only one I can think of that I don't like the production for is Blood on My Jeans, but besides that, I think the rest of the production is really fantastic. The features in this also are great. The Kid Laroi, as much as I don't really like his recent stuff that he's put out, in fact, I think his recent stuff is kind of generic, I really do like his future on this. Also, Trippie Redd has a pretty nice one. The Weeknd's was a perfect pick, and I mean, he, of course, has a phenomenal singing voice. And I forgot her name, Hazley? I don't know how you pronounce her name, but she does a pretty okay job on this. Marshmallow's production on Come and Go was fantastic. There's so many really great features that they picked really well for this album. I don't know how they were just able to figure out the perfect features just a pick for this entire album as well. And also, Juice WRLD's voice on the entire album is pretty fantastic, actually. I mean, maybe not phenomenal, but I'd say he has a very good voice on the entire album. And I mean, I've listened to his stuff outside of this album, and I can say that it's questionable, you know. But the thing is, he's able to balance in this one. His heartbroken voice is balancing perfectly without it sounding too off key or mumbly, which at times he can outside of this project. But in this one, it's done perfectly. the way he talks about substances is in a way that we understand his point of view, and it's not really someone that's like a genius that knows everything, not really like a scientist or like someone that's really studying or knows a ton about them. It's more of someone that's getting taken away from us, but by his addiction, but by the pills and the such that he is taking in this, and how heartbroken and how much he wants to get out of it, as how much he wants to, but at the same time it feels impossible, and it seems impossible throughout this album. We the thing is, we know what's the inevitable future that happened afterwards, so in as much as we are rooting for him to get out of it, at the same time we know what happens at the end, even if it's not telling it like that story format. And I feel like that just really, it does it perfectly. From what I've listened to Juice from outside this album, it really does convey all of that perfectly. It's not like one where he switches a ton of stuff up, but I will say that it gave us it kind of just gave us basically, what you would want from Juice WRLD. What would you want him in his prime? And this is definitely the best I've listened to from him. And I mean, is it perfect? No. Blood on My Jeans is one I really wasn't much of a fan of. I don't hate it. I don't even know if I think it's bad. I just think it's a mediocre one that doesn't need to be on there. I really like Come and Go, but it's definitely one that doesn't really need to be on there as well. Well, let me think. What is really another one? I mean, those are probably the two main ones that really do come to mind. I can't think of a ton of other ones that I'm like, oh yeah, you could just take this out and it wouldn't really mean anything. Those are really the two main ones where I'm just like, okay, you don't really need these on here. Why are these on here? Even though I really enjoy Come and Go. I mean, it felt like somewhat of an excuse to feature Marshmello on here, but at the same time, I don't know if that's fully certain. I can't exactly say that as a definitive answer. As much as I enjoy Trippie Redd's verse, I don't know if it needed to, I don't think he 110% needed to be on here, but at the same time, I mean, it's nice to see him on here, so, I mean, I can't really mind that. But yeah, I thought this was a really fantastic album. I will give it probably a 10, not because it's perfect, but because of my personal enjoyment as well that's added on to it. And I'm not saying it's badly made. It's very well made. It's just that for my personal taste and what I personally like about this album and how much I listen to some of these songs, that also is included into my rating for this album. So that is going to be it. What did you think of it? If there's any ways you want me to improve my content, let me know in the description below. I'm trying to make my favorites list of my favorite albums. Maybe you could recommend me some albums that I'd love to listen to, I'd love to maybe critique on, and yeah, that's going to be for the video. I'll see you guys in the next one.